snap. Papa got beats making headlines. Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. Still have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't want to drive me. You can say that's for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me tried the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they feelings changed. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and a color on your lip.
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, powered by Blue Wire. Shout out to the new company. My name is Michael-Shawn You guys can follow me on whatever Elon Musk is calling that app these days. My at name has not changed, at Mike Dugar, MikeDugar. Shout out to everyone who is watching or listening via our YouTube channel. Seahawks Man-to-Man is the name of the channel. That's Seahawks Man, the number 2. Man, we appreciate all of the love and support on there from our audio people. And just stop what you're doing. Go over to YouTube, hit subscribe, and just come right back. It's okay. We just need that love, even if you're someone who listens on Spotify, Apple, or what have you. We appreciate it. Chris, go ahead and talk to him.
Yes, thanks again, everybody. It's your boy, Christopher Kidd. You can follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206 and that's CKid206. And shout out to all you guys. We just hit 3,500 on the way to 4K. So let's get to 4,000 subscribers before the start of the regular season. So that's a few months away. But I believe with the word of mouth and you guys spreading all the love and support, we can definitely get to 4K. So on the road to 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that's Seahawks Man-to-Man. So thanks again for all the support.
All right. Here's how much I love you guys before you introduce our guest. You know, as many of you know, Mike's on paternity leave. That's why you don't see me writing about OTAs or even tweeting or anything, doing the dad thing. But we're in the mood to pod. And we want to bring you guys some good content to get you through the offseason. So we have a special guest for you, I believe. Our first member of the Seahawks front office as a guest. Yes. I guess if you exclude like being the head coach, we have Senior Director of Player Personnel, Matt Berry, joining us. Matt,
what's up, guys?
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man.
Oh, yeah. We appreciate you giving us some time here. We talked a little bit about this pre-show. I'm going to run it back for the audience here. You know, I imagine, Matt, you were like all of us as a kid at some point, 2nd or 3rd grade, and teacher says, all right, I want everyone to write down what they want to be when they grow up. You know, and it's it. We're athletes, we're dentists, we're lawyers, whatever, we're doctors, firefighters, police officers, whatever. I imagine, I'm projecting here, but I imagine yours did not say Director of Player Personnel for the Seahawks. If it did, that's great, but let's assume that it didn't. How do you go from, you know, whatever you thought you were going to be growing up to the role that you're in now?
Well, I was going to play, right? And then I'd stop growing. I couldn't run. So that limited that. You know, I had the fortune. I was fortunate enough to go to Davidson College in North Carolina. Played football and baseball there, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was graduating. All my friends were doing fancy stuff, finance and med school, and you know, my road athletically had ended. And the catcher on our baseball team, his uncle was a scout, and we had a rain delay, and somehow he ends up in the dugout at NC State, and he's sitting with the rest of us as a team. And so I just started talking to him. And so he was kind of my first contact in the NFL, and I worked from that, and I was fortunate enough to be in Atlanta for 6 years. And then, you know, this is my 17th year here. So very fortunate, very blessed to have been with John the last, 14 years. So it's been a really, really fun ride.
Based on that, I just want to move along with it. What are some of the expectations, I guess, for the Seahawks this season in your role?
In my role, well, you know, it's we're all about, you know, we finished through the draft process. We are really happy with the guys that we were fortunate enough to bring in, where we fell with the picks that we had, and you know, giving up that 2nd round pick for Leo was a big deal for us, and getting that player. And then, you know, it's basically one of those things like you give the capital up for that player, and then when it comes to the draft, now you're having to pay for it, right? You don't have the pick, so you had to sit through that. But I feel like, you know, as a group, that our preparation was such that it fell for us in a good way. So we're excited. I mean, we're excited about the new coaching staff. We're excited about what Mike brings. OTAs have been really cool. The tempo of practice, the way guys have been buying in. There's just a really cool vibe going on. Different but cool. It's everybody's kind of pulling in the same direction. You don't always know when you transition, from one staff you've been with for 14 years to a new staff. It gelled quickly. A lot of it through the draft process. And then I think as you guys talk to players and see, the open practices and stuff as we get into training camp, you guys will be impressed with where we are as a team. But as far as expectations, we'll see game by game.
Okay. What is your role during the season? We know what it kind of is during the off season. You kind of alluded to that when you first started talking, but what is it during the in the season, excuse me?
During the season, it's twofold. I'll be in the office, usually at the beginning of the week and help digest the game with a pro personnel staff. And if I'm needed there, for any workouts, and then I'm on the road. I'm Trent Kirshner, Nolan, and I all go out and we go into schools and we're doing research. We're trying to figure out, who the players are, figure out who they are from a talent standpoint, a fit scheme wise, and then beginning our research, to see if we feel like their culture fits. If they have the competitive makeup, they have the drive, if they love ball, they have the edge, chip on their shoulder, all those things that we've talked about for so many years. That's that process. You're basically finding as much about these players, as many questions as you have. So by the time you get to interact with them, usually, January, call it some late December, January, February, you know what to ask and what questions to look at and how to develop relationships with these guys.
Nice.
So you can find the truth.
Got it. And then this is a whole new staff, new regime, and everything in that regard. So I'm assuming you've already seen some areas that the team has gotten better. Which areas do you see that the Seahawks have improved?
Well, I mean, we haven't gotten pads on yet, so that's a loaded question, right? So things will always look good in shorts, and until you get tested and you play an opponent, and we'll see in the preseason, it's hard to tell. But the thing that's really stood out is how much guys have bought in, how guys are playing together, the level of teaching. There's always some pause when you have transition, like I was talking about earlier. How are the guys going to respond to the new position coaches? How are they going to respond to Mike? Compared to how they responded to Pete. And I think all those things have been positive. So that's been exciting to know that the transition has been as smooth as it has.
Matt, in your travels, well, actually I have two questions. One is like selfishly, because I haven't had lunch at the time we're recording this, but in the first one, let's go to this. What is the benefit of seeing some of these guys in person, whether it's in practice or in their games, versus just grinding away in your office watching the tape of them?
It's twofold, but the key to being in schools is, and just like you guys know, it's if you want to know the truth, you got to develop relationships with people. And if you want to figure out who these guys really are, it's about being in the school and the position coach, the equipment guy, the academic people. You develop a relationship so you have trust, so that if there's an issue or a question you have, you're not just going to get a run-of-the-mill, what would you call just a answer you get in a normal press conference. You're not going to get a company line, right? Because you've spent the time on the ground developing the relationships. And they take a long time to develop. And as transient as the coaching profession is, guys end up – I was an area scout in the Southwest for, call it 7-8 years, and those coaches are everywhere. When I was a young area scout, Josh Heupel was the quarterback coach, at Oklahoma. And so we developed a relationship then. And that's developed to this day, when I go into Tennessee. So that's the benefit from being in the school. The tape eval has changed quite a bit. You used to have to get tape, when I first started out and everybody's on beta and you're sharing beta tape, you were in the school to watch the tape, right? You had to.
Oh man, you're dating yourself a little bit here.
Well, I've been in this a little bit. So you'd have to be in the school to watch the tape and do the evaluation. As we've gotten more advanced in the computer systems and all the digital video has come up and PFF and all the ways you can make cut-ups, that's changed. So it's a balance of, I can get a bunch of the tape work done in my office before I go out on the road. And I think all of us here are like that. So that when you go in the school, you're really focused on spending time with people, watching maybe the most recent game, watching practice, and trying to really develop the relationships there. And that's what we want our area scouts to do. We want them to go into the school and develop a footprint and represent the Seahawks in a way that reflects well on John, on Coach, on Jody, on everybody, and helps us get the information we need. Not every team approaches it that way. I mean, you can be more efficient now, or less, I guess less involved in the schools now because of the way video is.
So let's go to the second part of my question, because I teased it earlier. Chris and I were actually just in your neck of the woods. We were an area scout. We were just in Houston.
Okay.
Together, for the holiday weekend. We ate very good down there.
Yeah. Barbecue or Tex-Mex?
Where did we went to? I know the couple of brunch spots that we went to were very solid. Don't ask me the names.
Camp is one.
Yeah. There was a Phil and Derek's. We ate good. I bring that up to say, though, you've been an area scout in the Southwest. Where's the area where you're going? Turkey Lake Hut. Turkey Lake Hut was very good. Where's the area you're going? You're excited to go as a scout, whether now or in the past. We're like, I like going to this area, this town, because I know I'm gonna eat good when I'm there.
Well, I'm a little different, as far as the food thing. I'm not as much of a foodie as I am maybe a workout guy or whatever. But what I get excited about is, one, seeing players, and then seeing guys that I know that I have relationships with. Because when you're an area scout, you're in the schools maybe 3 times. And as you move up, you you're in the schools less. I may hit it 1 time. So when you go to a place and you know people, it feels a lot better when you walk into a school and you're having to kind of feel your way. So that would say that would be the one. But I always like getting home, being in Texas, because I lived there for so long. I like being in the Southeast. I still cover North Carolina, so I can get back to Davidson, see that area a little bit. So we're all kind of like that. Like Trent's still in the Midwest. He's from Minnesota, so he'll get home. So everybody's got their own little area they like.
With your job, what would you say is some of the challenges that are day-to-day process that you're like, whew, it's a grind, but at the same time you still enjoy it and love it as well?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing the last few years has been just keeping track of transfers, so that when you go into the school, you know who you're looking at. Because guys have, some guys are at 2 schools in 1 year, depending on, what it is and NIL and all that. So it's knowing who the class is, and then the having the COVID year. So you're writing a whole lot more guys than you've written in the past, call it these last 4 years, because you don't know who's in the class. So we didn't know, I think, this year until February 2nd when the opt-out list came out, like that this was the class. So you're writing a lot more guys than are actually in that class. So it makes you're spread a little bit more thin. So that's probably the most challenging aspect of the way the landscape's been the last few years. But it's a puzzle, man. It's a research project. It's a puzzle. You're trying to figure out which of these guys we're starting right now to watch guys for, the 25 draft. So we're going back, as we speak, all our guys are doing tape. We just got back from our scouting combine over Memorial Day week. And so the process has started. So we're trying to figure out of these guys where we want to spend our time and who looks like their potential Seahawks.
Now, you gave us the challenges. What's the most rewarding? I kind of think I know I have the answer, but I kind of want to hear what your thoughts are on what's rewarding when it's all said and done, the dust settles, and, we did that.
It's the relationships you get with the players. That's the most rewarding thing, because we ask our guys as we get into the spring and these guys start going through it and you're interviewing these guys, that you can't really – you guys interview people for a living. It's not the first interview where you feel most comfortable and get the right stuff or the authentic version of the prospect. So it's getting to know these guys, and you get a chance to get 7, 8, 10 of them. And as a group, we've developed relationships with all those guys. And then seeing those guys grow and become men and having success is really a rewarding part, for sure.
It's a grind to get to the draft class. I know you guys are excited when you finally get your guys in on draft weekends. Let's talk about that 2024 class for a little bit here. Yeah. I know the whole class personality is a big part of you guys' scouting process. Obviously, you want guys who fit the Seahawks as people, in addition to players.
Right.
Give me a guy, maybe or two, that from a personality and fit standpoint are really like, this guy is a Seahawk.
Well, I mean, you'd say your first 2 draft picks, Byron and Christian, right? Totally different personalities, totally different And when you guys get to interview him, you'll see him just the way they present. But they both love ball, and they both have a chip on their shoulder. You know, Byron was a higher recruited guy, went to Texas, had to sit a minute, and then started to play and blew up this year. I mean, he absolutely took over, and you could see it last year. And they didn't let him play quite as much. I think the play time's a little bit less, but he really took advantage of his opportunity this year. And then Christian's kind of the opposite. Christian was under recruited and had to prove himself and had to build his body up, and went to UConn and lost a ton of games and was off the radar. And so he's got a legit chip on his shoulder to prove who he is. And both those guys are like that. I think you've seen that in the way Byron reacts right now when he's kind of snubbed from some of these pre-season, watch lists, which mean nothing, but it just speaks to his competitive nature. And those are the things that we really covet, because you don't know how guys, I guess a little bit more with NIL, but how these top picks are going to respond once they make it. Their whole existence has been, I want to get to the league. I want to get to the league. I want to get to the league. And if that's the goal and that's the end point, and they relax once they get to the league, then what do you have? You want guys that want to continue to push and develop, and it's about ball and competing and being part of something. And both those guys are like that. Other guys aren't too, but those guys come to mind. We'll start with like top picks. How about that?
Yeah, no, it's been interesting to see with Byron, because he's he's a first round pick. He gets paid. He had a big deal when he gets drafted. But you see like a NFL CBS account will say, hey, here's the guys with the best odds to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, and it won't include Byron. And for some guys, that's all it takes. That one Instagram post, one tweet, one list that you're not on, and then that fire is lit in you. Why is that fire so important for guys?
Just like what I touched on before, is it about being an NFL player? I mean, that's a huge thing and a huge accomplishment. Is it about being great at your craft? And is it about being a really good teammate and winning football games? They're two different things. I mean, it's a great thing to be an NFL player. You get status, you're paid. It's an unbelievable platform, but there's a different side of that. Do you want to be great when you're on the field? And I think some of the greats that have come through here, be it Sherm, Doug, Cam, all those guys, it wasn't about just being an NFL player. That was cool. It was about proving something else on the field. And that's kind of the DNA of the Seahawks that we're looking for. And it's an imperfect science. I mean, I wish I could tell you that we nail it every time. We don't. It's hard. It's hard to find those guys. They're rare. But that's what we're aiming for every time out.
I don't think there is a perfect science to predict the behavioral patterns of guys in their early 20s. If there is a science where they can figure that out.
We're trying though. I mean, we try really hard. It's we have process built around it, and that's what we're aiming for. We spend a lot of time talking about it and really trying to ensure that the type of guys we get here, love to compete and love ball. I mean, that's probably the most important aspect of our process from that side. I mean, if we miss on the talent, that's one thing. I think that's the easier part of the process.
I obviously, I'm preface this again. You want all the rookies to have impact. Ideally, you want all of them to have impact in year one. But maybe if you had to pull out your crystal ball, put your prediction hat on, a guy you're thinking, man, what we've seen from him, his mental makeup, his talent, he can have a really big impact as a rookie.
It's hard. I mean, obviously Byron's easy answer there, but it's hard to know, Mike, right now with where we are from a schematic standpoint and roles. Everything's so new. We're in the middle of install for the first time. The first time through, we haven't had the pads on, so everybody's kind of swimming. Like, you don't know how certain guys are going to fit with the vets we have coming back. So to know, to know even where they're going to fit, week 1, week 2, it's hard to say. That's more of a question I'll have a better feel for, in training camp or later on than OTAs.
We'll gladly have you back on in training camp. Actually, again, I'll exit the same way. I might even not even. I'll just roll this clip and
you can do it
right back to you.
Yeah, you can hit me up when you're out here, man. When you're back from your honeymoon and feeling good, and just grab me on the sideline.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mike. He's calling you out on that, so you actually have to do it now.
Yeah.
Staying with the rookies, Matt, I'm curious, based on some of the guys that might be flying under the radar, right? Who is one player in this class that the fans should keep an eye out? Now, I know you mentioned that, everything you guys are installing a bunch of things, but maybe there's one rookie that you're like, ooh, yeah, this guy's under the radar and he's going to be something special.
I mean, it's hard to say guys are under the radar. That's the one thing, because once you're drafted, to me, you're front and center. If you're not doing stuff, then we got to revisit process and figure out what we've done. We've done that. So I expect all those guys to have some sort of impact, be it on special teams, contribute in the rotation, as you get into our day 3 guys. I mean, it was a little bit of a different class this year overall with the amount of guys that went back to school, and I think we're almost to the end of the COVID deal, and you're going to start to see, more depth all the way through into free agency this year and next year, which will be cool. But I'm excited. I feel like the 2 corners that fell to us, the fact that they fell to us where they did was awesome. How much, run they're going to get on defense, I don't know. I think both of them will be really impactful on special teams. Tawa is a really cool prospect as a guard. So we're excited about him. I don't where he fits with our group. It's hard to say. We haven't put on the pads yet. Tyrese Knight seems like he's coming on. He had an outstanding Senior Bowl. He can run. He's instinctive, but we're in week, we've had 11 practices so on the defense. So to say that how he fits, is he going to be a core teams guy? Is he going to push for play? It's hard to say at this point with those guys. So.
Got it. Take us behind the scenes, and let's say you're looking at a guy that his past is a little rocky, but the tape is great. When you've interviewed him, he's been excellent. What's that process of trying to get this kid that maybe has some issues in the past, but interviews well, you love him, the rest of the guys are all in? How does that process work when it's now time? All right, do we take a risk on this kid? How do we see this working out?
Well, I would ask you, what are the issues?
Okay, let's see.
There are all sorts of so the way we would tier it, you got to be talented. You got to be a talented player, okay? You're talented enough, then we talk about football character. Is this guy's football character what we're looking for in terms of his competitive makeup? Is he passionate about the process? Is football first? Does he come to meetings? Is he on time? Is he tough? All those things. Does he learn? Does he have an understanding of ball? And then the next tier would be, okay, what are the issues, if there are issues off the field, and can we manage those? And that becomes the way we would tier it, right? Now there's some issues or instances, stuff that happens off the field that we wouldn't touch, right? But for the most part, it's about the player's ability and then their football character. Because usually, if their football character, which shows up when you interview the coaches and you interview the player and you watch the tape, most everybody's football character shows up on their tape. The tape's the resume. Then the rest of it can kind of take care of itself.
Okay.
No, that's a good follow-up there. You never know. Yeah, there's some levels to some off-field stuff. That's for sure.
I mean, there are levels, and then what are the depending on, and we're talking in hypotheticals, but what are the circumstances around that? What is the each player we look at individually. Every circumstance is different. Every background is different. But there are definitely some standards here that we hold to pretty severely, especially when we're talking about drafting a player and having them be a cornerstone building block type guy.
I want to sneak at least one more in here for you, because I know you guys have been really excited about the last 2 classes, not just 2024, but 2022, 2023. They've laid a really good foundation. Last year was obviously the rookie class for the 2023 group. What did you like about that, and what are you maybe hoping to see in terms of a jump from your second year guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's you hope they play faster and with more confidence. Now, it's saying that about Spoon. I don't know that he can be any more confident.
I was going to say, you want Spoon to play faster? Hold on.
But I think just the fact that he's been through it a year and his knowledge and how instinctive he is, how much further along he'll be not seeing it for the first time. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited just in general about that group and seeing guys continue to develop. Zach will be more confident this year. He fits the run scheme well. Derek Hall has got an opportunity to continue to grow. It's as a group. So you're really excited. And the cool thing is as people, they're still attacking it. They're still, you still have a chip on their shoulder, and they're still going for it. They're not satisfied with playing and being, having the jersey and all that. So we're really excited about all those guys. And then how Mike's going to use them, and Grubb. I mean, that's the unknown. I mean, we have all these guys that we're really excited about, and they're going to have new roles and new opportunity to make plays, and that's really cool.
If Spoon hits another gear this year, he's going to look like a Tasmanian devil with cleats on. Like that.
Yeah, I mean, our back end right now is really cool. The versatility we have at the safety position with all those guys, our corner group. I mean, we're super excited about where we're going with that. And then the front is, if those guys all come back healthy and the way they're utilizing them, it's going to be really cool to see how it all fits together.
What position did you play back in the day, Matt? I know you said you played a little ball.
I was a small school center, to believe it or not. I DH'd in baseball. Yeah.
Nice.
So
okay.
I've dropped some weight over the course.
You're sticking with it. All the guys that have played center or played O-line, they lose all the weight. It disappears.
Yeah, you got to, because you spend all that time being big, Yep. Yeah. Go ahead.
I should have mentioned this when I talked about the class from last year. I got to give you a confession here. We are big Jake Bobo guys on this podcast. And we had some guys. We take questions from the fans. I think it was during our UDFA questions segment.
Okay.
I think this was like around this time last year. It was like, this guy runs a 4.9. That's not attractive. But I remember I had gone and watched Zach Charbonnet and saw, just while watching Zach, like, wait a minute here. I think we think we see something. So yeah, we're a big hashtag more Bobo pod here. Like how did that process go? If IDing a guy like that who's testing stuff may not jump off, but obviously he's a good player.
So we knew Jake because he was a super senior. He was at Duke the year before, right? And he had been productive at Duke, and then he went to UCLA. And then Josh and Nolan both go. They were covering the school, and the guy made plays every game, and he had a knack. And it wasn't really. You never felt like he was a burner, but you never felt like he was what he ran. So he consistently got open. He's got outstanding hands. He's got great sense for using his body, for uncovering. He's really good at the top of routes, setting guys up. That's how he creates space. And then if you watch the pro day, it's wet and windy and like terrible conditions. Like they should, and they don't have an indoor there, so they ran outside. So there was some mitigating stuff there. So we liked Jake all the way through the process, and it just so happened he fell out, and we had a good relationship with his agent and good opportunity for him to come here, and he's made the most of it. He's done awesome. The way he blocks, the way he contributes on special teams. Again, you talk about the makeup of the player, and he fits in line with all those guys like I've been talking. So it's cool.
Yeah, you talk about chip on the shoulder guys. Nothing, I would say nothing, but very few things put a chip on a guy's shoulder like a couple of 100 dudes getting drafted and it ain't them.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's so smart. He's so driven. Like he's going to maximize every opportunity he gets, which is really cool. But
Matt, we really appreciate you giving us some time, man. Talk about kind of a little bit about what you do, the draft class, to add to the Jake Bobo hype train.
Let's keep it going.
We're pushing that around here. We have been for a little bit. We're big JSN guys on this podcast too. I guess we should some love.
Yeah, I'm a big JSN guy too. It's easy.
Yeah, we have a bit of me and Chris play flag football together in a couple leagues and pick up too. So we're like big. We have a big receiver and DB bias.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's kind of. And we're also just very small. That's part of it too.
I can't relate to the movement skill, but JSN's freaking unbelievable.
Yeah,
I think between the coming off the hamstring, coming out of the draft, and then the hand injury where he is now compared to where he was this time last year, holy cow, guys. Holy cow. It's really cool.
Really talented.
All right, you hear that, Chris? When we play our fantasy league, I'm taking JSN. Don't jump in front of me.
Well, that's all on Grubb. You can't put that on me.
No, I will certainly blame Ryan. I'll tell Ryan after I draft. I'll walk up to Ryan and say, "Hey, Ryan, my name's Mike. We haven't met. Make sure you get the ball to JSN. I got a couple $100 in fantasy. Rely on. I need you."
I'm sure that'll move the needle, Mike.
I'm going for 3 straight championships in the league that Chris and I.
Wow.
I have a reputation. Yeah, man, I have a reputation to protect as a fantasy guru.
Now I'm
so
starting to question Chris a little bit.
Look, man, I don't have the time to go into the ins and outs of how my team just dismantled. My first 2 picks didn't make it the first 3 weeks. I don't know what to say. I was handicapped 4 weeks into the season. I apologize. Hopefully this year I'll have health on my side.
All right, I got something to follow now.
roll with Mike, local fantasy guru of the Seahawks media. That's me. That's what they call me. But yeah, thank you, Matt. Again, that's Matt Berry, Seahawks Senior Director of Player Personnel. Blame him for all your fantasy issues if you have them on offense. I'm kidding, man. Thank you so much for giving us some time. We really appreciate it. I know you're busy around this time of year. Like you said, you're already grinding on the 2025 crop.
Yeah, we're rolling through it. We're rolling through it right now.
That is spectacular, man. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and you have a good one, man.
Hey, appreciate your time, guys.
Thanks once again to Matt Berry coming on the podcast. Shout out to him, showing us some love. But since we haven't been on in a little bit, again, doing the dad thing, I'm actually looking at my daughter right now as we record. Let's get into some questions. I asked for some on the tweet machine, the X, whatever the hell Elon's doing. You guys gave us some. There were some good ones. So without further ado, let's see what y'all got off season for us.
Let's jump right into it. This first one comes from Edmilson Vaz. In what situation, Mike, do you think Mike Macdonald would ask one of the Harbaugh brothers for advice? Or do you think he has already made that contact, for example, on how he should evaluate a player, etc.?
That's a good question. I think when it comes to football stuff, Mike Macdonald seems to have that. Not to say he has all the answers, but he has a belief system and a foundation that will allow him to find the answer to anything he might come across, whether that be something in the coaching, like coaching of a player or personality or whatever. I could see, though, because everyone has mentors, right, that you lean on for something. I could see the mentorship coming in hand from the Harbaugh brothers in managing of like an off-field crises. Whether there's a million things. You guys know. Think of all the stuff that Pete Carroll had to deal with that had nothing to do with football, whether it was something that a guy said in the media or players drag racing outside of the facility. It was just, so much stuff. Maybe arrests are probably something easy to deal with, but like, I don't know. There's just so many things that a coach is now the CEO of that doesn't, like, it's not just X's and O's. You're not just the DC. You're not just dealing with like a disgruntled guy who not getting enough targets or a contract situation. Maybe like there's just so much that these guys go through in their lives with their wives, with their kids, with their family members, with their, their church, who knows? So I think stuff like that maybe is what you would lean. I could see a first-year coach, not just Mike, any first-year coach leaning on, because knowing ball is just like, come on, these guys know ball. Like how to deal with like ball issues, player evals, whatever, coaching stuff. Like I feel like they'll you either get that or you won't. But like, yeah, what do? You get a call in the middle of the night from Mo Kelly. It's like, yo, so-and-so did such and such. I got the police chief on the other line. They didn't want to bring him in. They wanted to call us first, stuff like that. That's different, That's how do you keep it under wraps, blah, blah. So not to say these guys are covering up crimes. I guess I mean preface that. I want to accuse the Seahawks and nothing. Don't want y'all coming after me. But you guys get the point. I could see that scenario being where you hit up your mentor.
Savage Cookie. Will Tyler Lockett retire after this season?
Ooh, this is a good one, too. Tyler is, how old is Tyler's our age, right? We're both,
I think he's 31, 32, one of those.
Yeah, he's got a September birthday. So Tyler's turning 32, so he's our age. I could see it. I just know Tyler really loves football. That's the thing. Like, it's in his blood. He really loves ball. So I could see it. I would say, I don't know. Tyler could easily see this and be like, Mike, we talking about him retiring. But I don't know how much he does. He has a lot of money left on his deal. That's not guaranteed, I believe, after the season because he reworked it. You see teams wanting to get young at every spot. So the old guys, quote unquote, old guys. I keep calling him our age because I wanted to make he ain't that old. We 32. Not old per se. But in football, once you turn 30, you might as well just be Pete Carroll. You're just old as dirt. I could see it. The only thing is that what stopped me is he's a guy who loves ball. Chris, who I compare him to?
Who you got?
Is Klay Thompson, or even Kevin Durant, and not even just from like a skill stand. Like those two guys, you can tell And it's not in those cases, it's not all they care about, but it's like you can tell it's the thing they care about. Like Tyler obviously has other interests with like poetry and real estate. He's married now. Maybe he wants to go start a family too with his wife, but you can just tell like Ball is where he feels like at peace with him. That's just he's one of them guys. Kevin Durant. I just saw a video of Kevin Durant doing jab steps in the club. Like that dude really, I don't know if you've seen that, but he really loved Ball. Like Tyler's one of those guys. So I could see perhaps that that persuading him to give it another shot. He's also a guy I'm very curious to see if he would want to go play for another team. Like some guys are just not like, nah, I'm good. I got my family here, blah, blah, blah. But then I think Tyler's people might live in like Texas, I think, or something like that. So who knows? Maybe if like the Texans call, like, hey, we'll give you one more ride. Come catch some passes for some CJ Stroud in your age 33 season. You know what I'm saying? That sound high. Or
what do I sign?
Brian Schottenheimer is the OC of the Cowboys, I believe still. That isn't called the plays, but like maybe next year, like, yo, Tyler, pull up, we need a vet in the room or something like that. If the Seahawks don't, aren't rocking. Who knows? I can see any of those type of scenarios for maybe some guys who don't want to go too far away or go to a completely new environment. We've talked to KJ Wright. He had that year in Vegas away from his family environment he wasn't familiar with. And he was like, this sucks. But then you got, I thought the same thing for what it's worth about Bobby. I didn't think Bobby would go to the East Coast away from, his people and go play for a team. And what do you know? I saw him in the Commander's uniform the other day. He looked awful. Bobby. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But
somehow this is going to get to him. So good luck with that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. He knows. Come on, man. But with burgundy and whatever their colors are, I think burgundy and gold is maybe what they call it. Come on, Bobby. The only thing that kind of looked cool was the W. Like
I'm gonna suck up to you, Bobby. You look great, buddy. Don't hurt me.
Suck up to you is crazy. That's a crazy.
Oh man!
Line.
Now that
dropping the pod. Nope, don't even cut it out now. You said it.
Oh my goodness.
We just go to the next question. That's all.
We will. This is from the homegirl Holly at Holly Keefe 06. Do you think the door is still open for Quandre Diggs to make a return to the Seahawks?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it closed per se. I would just call it unlikely. You guys heard Matt Berry in the first part of our show. Like they're excited about the back end of the guys they got now. Kavon Wallace, Rayshawn Jenkins, Julian Love, mix in with the corners that they have as well. Kobe Bryant in that as well. Jarek Reed when his knee heals up, you could kind of feel like, yo, let's see what we got. And then if somebody sucks or somebody get hurt, they're not gonna say it like that. But they have contingency. They have contingency plans for all of that. Like they got buttons they push. If if so and so break his leg, we're calling your client. Usually that's John's job to be abreast of all that. So I would not call it likely. Let's put it that way. I would not call it likely unless you get like an injury or they get to camp and like, yo, Rayshawn Jenkins stinks or something like that. I bet I don't see those scenarios happening. My guess would be Quandre, another guy who, if he does play, it'll be somewhere probably closer to his people. I believe he stays in Texas in the offseason. So, again, Texans call, Cowboys call. I don't know if those teams would, but maybe something like that where he's closer to his people. He's got small children. All that stuff factors in when you get old. And I am calling Quandre old. I know he's our age as well, but I just wanted to call him old, but not Tyler old.
See, Mike calling out everybody today. I'm gonna let you handle all this smoke that you throwing. All right, letting you know now. I am not in this. Quandre, I said no such thing. But best of luck. This next one comes from the homie at Maddie F. Brown. Is John Schneider paying DK Metcalf again?
So I'll leave it to Maddie. Shout out Maddie to ask a really fascinating question. Because as you guys have seen, probably I've seen it. I ain't really been on social media and watching the sports media like that outside of like some of the Caitlin Clark stuff. Receivers are getting the bag. They are getting straight to the bag. I think Justin Jefferson's checking in at like 35 million or something like that.
35
like,
a year.
Just a crazy, crazy number. And what's DK at? Let me look this up.
He's at
DK
24.
24 million, which checks in. I'm looking at overthecap.com. Oh boy. Yeah, that's right around Nico Collins, Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman. Wow, that's a deal for Michael Pittman. Devontae Smith, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams. Wow, yeah, no, man, these guys are getting the bag. There's 3 guys averaging 30 million a year on their deals. 4 now. AJ Brown, Amon-Ra, and Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson. Yeah, so 4 guys. You probably see CeeDee Lamb jump into that too. You might see Brandon Ayuk jump into that as well. How many years DK got left on his? Chris? Let's see.
Is it
one more year after this? DK's birthday is in December, so you're looking at like his age 28 season would be his final year under the deal. If they were to give him an extension, you could do it now. Maybe that could be a thing that they talk about. But what's interesting about this question is, and Maddie knows this, why you got this in here. John Schneider is not like gung-ho about like these third contracts for guys, you know? Second deals can be like a pain in the butt for sometimes, but mostly what we've seen is those third ones. You know, Cam Chancellor's third one. Did they even give Earl Thomas a third one? I think they did. Like Bobby got his third one, but he was like an all-pro linebacker at the time. You know,
Best
even
in the league.
Russell's third contract, 140 million joint, was like that was a tough negotiation with a lot of pushing and shoving. And that came after the Seahawks explored getting a new quarterback. They were going to draft Mahomes. They hit the Browns like, yo, what's up with that number one pick? It was in 2018. So that was a third contract that we're maybe not like super hype on. Did Sherm get a third joint? I don't think he did.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, so you know the third one's not to say they won't do it because Tyler's now gotten 3, so it's not like out of the question. And he's gotten 3 like pretty good ones too. I think he got a $36 million the first time, and his last one was like $70 million. So you can do it. It's not that they're opposed to it, but it's with the exception of Tyler, I would say. I guess Tyler and Bobby, there's been some teeth pulling and some hesitation, and you see why. In some of those instances, look what happened when they paid like Cam that third one. He broke his neck right away. I mean, maybe not broke his neck, but you guys know what I mean. Couldn't play football no more shortly after the deal. So I would guess. Let's see how I want to phrase this, Chris, so I can like hedge if I'm like wildly wrong. I would be surprised if he got an extension this offseason. This will be the time to do it if you want, like to lock him up. You know, do it now. Try to get ahead of it a little bit because let's say, Chris, you wait and then Brandon Ayuk makes $36 million or even just makes like 30 something. Then CeeDee Lamb gets paid, and I'm sure there's another receiver who's up, you know, at some point. At that point, who like maybe Garrett Wilson's due for an extension, maybe at that point. So now, what does he make? 37. What does he go crazy with Aaron Rodgers or something like that this year? You know, it's only going to get more expensive the longer you wait. So if you're going to do it, the time would be now to get ahead of it. But I just would be surprised if they do that because of what it costs to retain guys right now. So yeah, that would be my answer. I'd be surprised if he resets that market again. Particularly, it's important if they keep having success with guys. Like if this Bobo thing continues to work and this JSN thing continues to work, and maybe they hit on like a free agent guy, it's like, yo, do we need to give a guy X amount of dollars if he's not an all-pro dude? Because has DK made an all-pro team?
He made it once.
Was he first team all-pro? Not that it's like a super distinction, but I am kind of curious.
It's a difference. I think he was second team, if I'm not mistaken.
See. And I'm not to say he's not a game changer, but like that, when you're talking about, do I reset the market for you or go in another direction? You know, for what it's worth, I would just keep paying him because I just we've talked about this on the show before. What he brings just from being on the field is so valuable, and it's just hard to find real deal number one receivers. You know, I'm even looking at some of these guys on here, and it's like, yeah, you're a number one, but you know, or even like Jalen Waddle makes $28 million. Yo, he's not a number one.
He's number two.
Yo, you know, what the Texans are paying Diggs and Nico Collins, you know, what the Niners are going to have to be paying Debo and then pay Brandon Ayuk, man. It's tough out here to pay two of these guys. You know, I don't think T. Higgins has gotten paid yet. I don't think. He's still on the tag. And they got paid Jamar Chase. Oh, that's the other guy. I knew there was one more. Jamar is going to get paid. So it's like, or did he already get paid? Jamar Chase already get paid?
I don't think so. No, he didn't get
paid. You guys can tell I've been changing more diapers than I have been like been scrolling stuff. So yeah, man, I would be shocked if they did it, but I certainly would.
Yeah, he was. DK Metcalf was second team All Pro in 2020. So, yeah,
that's good. Is that Give
Yeah,
me
it'd be great.
$35 million. Good. I don't know. We've seen,
That's-
like I said, look at John's history. The only thing that's kind of hard to not predict with John now is he has a new contract negotiation guy. They used to have Matt Thomas. Matt Thomas has since left the building, and Matt was pretty like firm, like hard no, like here's where we're going, money wise. And if you don't want this, go sign with someone else. He was pretty firm on that, from what I've come to know about him. So yeah, I would be surprised personally if he gets an extension. I could see them probably trying to wait it out and then getting themselves into a very similar dilemma like they had with Frank Clark. Letting the guy go crazy, price himself out, it gets tough. I think they would only do that if someone like pops. Like if it looks like very clear, like, oh, JSN's an all-pro guy. Let's roll with that. Kind of like feels like the Cowboys kind of did that a little bit, where it's like we got CD and we have Amari, but like Amari is costing us $100 million. So
CD is cheaper right now.
Yeah. Not to say that was the right call, but you see teams making calls like that. I mean, even now the Bengals, I don't think they've paid Jamar. Haven't paid T, the franchise T, and that's a team that's been to the Super Bowl with those guys. So, like I said, I would do it, but I would be surprised if that happened.
Ziggy, not nice. He wants to know, scale of 1 to 10, how worried should fans be with the Seahawks linebackers? Jerome Baker still being hurt got me a little uneasy.
Yeah, I do think beyond the injury part with Jerome, because I'm sure he'll be fine. But man, we've been talking about this at the linebacker spot for a little bit. It's a tough position right now. The way that the league is going with the too high stuff, all this play action stuff, all this motion stuff to get your linebackers flowing the wrong way, asking them to cover. Like guys you're putting Cooper Kupps next to Fred Warner's, like Fred Warner can handle that and Roquan Smith can handle that, but like your average linebacker is not just turning and running with some of these guys. And we've seen it. That's why all y'all hate Bobby, right? Like you've seen it, but that's why we love Jordan Brooks, because he can turn and run with those guys and also take on guards and all that stuff. So I have skepticism about that before we even get to anybody being injured. But like Matt Berry was just telling us previously, you do got to wait to see what guys have pads on. That's important. That said, get the pads on. You can't do that if you're hurt. One of my favorite Clint Hurt quotes: "Can't make the club in the tub." Love that line. I think he said that about LJ. I think that's what he was talking about, LJ Collar. But yeah, I've always had some like little apprehension because I just see how tough it is when I go watch other offenses. That seems to be consistently the position group that they try to stress is those linebackers, because it's the easiest one, because you're almost like you're the equivalent of a tweener a little bit, like you're not rushing the passer, so you're like a little smaller than those guys, but you're not like super fast because you're 230-ish pounds. So you're not like one of these little corners. So like we can create the mismatches around you guys. I could put a Stephon Diggs by your inside linebacker and make him have to run. So I think, and to be good at Mike McDonald's scheme, I imagine you need a lot of reps, a lot of time on task at that spot. And if you're not getting those because you're hurt, that's there's just a lot of moving pieces there. Not to say it can't work, but yeah, I feel like, I don't know if it's a scale of 1 to 10 thing, but I would be, if you're concerned about it, I don't think you're bugging. I think that's a legit thing to be concerned about until we're kind of proven otherwise.
Deli drops in. He wants to know who is an underrated player on both offense and defense we are thinking is going to make the biggest leap this season.
Let's see. You want to take one on the side of the ball here?
So I'll go offense first. I will go offensive line, and I'll go out and say Olu. I think Olu I think he'll surprise a lot of folks, and he will take that center role and be the center the Seahawks need to be a great offense, whether that's running the football or throwing it downfield. I think Olu can spearhead that alongside with Charles Cross and a healthy Abe Lucas.
All right. Let's see. So I'll go away from the O-line, because I think a healthy Abe is like, I think he's a blue chip player. No, I really do. I'm actually expecting a big year. If schemed right, I think Chenna could go crazy, man. Because he kind of has he's not if I had to tier, edge rushers, like there's obviously like TJ Watts and Michael Parsons, Bosa type of cats like up here where like, dude, if you hit 15 sacks, nobody be like, oh damn, how'd you do that? You'd be like, oh, I expected you to do that, because you're like that for real. Miles Garrett, you guys know who to who the legit dudes are. But then that next tier, I feel like Chenna can crack that. I don't think he has quite yet. But when I watch him, I don't see like a lacking ability to do it. You know, he has his motor kind of reminds me. He doesn't play as many snaps. Kind of reminds me like a Max Crosby. Like Max is he's a big white guy full of Red Bull with tattoos. Like he just doesn't stop. It's nonstop energy. Chenna's not fully like that because the coaches actually care about his endurance, but he plays like that a little bit. Where it's like, yo, he can do whatever. You need him to stop the run, he got you. Like, yo, it's 3rd and 3 or whatever. They're trying to a little toss on my side. I'm stopping that. Okay, but now it's 3rd and 9. All right, cool. Now I'm gonna go get that. Like, not everybody is like that per se. So I do like that about Chenna. I think he can crack that tier 2. I don't know. I don't have all the best edge rushers in front of me, but like, who's like a tier? Yeah, who's like that next tier of guys? I would say, who's it? Daniil Hunter maybe might be in one of those type of, maybe the other Bosa. Who else is in like? Who would you say like is in that tier?
Tier 2?
Tier 2 of the edge rushers. I wish I had some more in front of me. Let's see. Brian Burns. I'm just looking at the guys who make a lot of money. I can see Brian Burns being considered like that. Montez Sweat, Chubb, Trey Hendrickson. That's a good one. Chenna kind of reminds me of that. Like that tier. I think you can jump in that tier, guys.
Okay. Defensively, I'll say Mike Morris. That's kind of the OTA talk of camp right now is Mike Morris.
Is he? Mike Morris?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's flashing. And he's healthy, which is great because he was not healthy last season. Didn't play. Red shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he could be a great backup, a guy that can come in and give you flashes of what he can do, slowing down the run, getting the quarterback. So I'll go with Mike Morris on my defensive side. Who you got offensively, Mike?
Well, I didn't realize that Mike was getting some hype. Good for him. I'll definitely root for guys named Mike more often than not. I don't have a sleeper on offense, but I would like to just see Noah Fant be the guy he was in Denver. Like in terms of just the impact. Like you could feel him when you watch the Broncos. I mean, God forbid if you were watching the Broncos before, like from 2019 to 2021. Like I feel bad for you if you were doing that because it wasn't great. I went back and watched. It sucked. But Noah was good. Like he's one of the few bright spots. You know, him, rookie year, Patrick Surtain, really good. A couple other guys too. Justin Simmons. They had some good guys, but like Noah was one of them. Like when you watch the Broncos, you were just like, there were some guys who were like, if another team got this dude, it would take them kind of over the top. Like against Surtain was like that. Fant was like that. Justin Simmons like that. Like there were some guys over there. It's like, yo, if they just get him out of this kind of mess that this team is. I used to think Jerry Jeudy was like that too. He's not, but I want to see Noah be that. You know, It feels like he's an afterthought in the offense the last little bit here, particularly last year, and I just think that's inexcusable for how talented he is.
This is from Taylor Bowers. Congrats on the new member of the family, Mike. My question is, with the new regime and many new faces on the team, who do you think steps up to be vocal leaders in the locker room and hoping to build a culture of accountability on this team?
That's a great question. Thank you on the congrats there. Being a dad is great unless you have to work and you need quiet. Then it gets a little dicey. But I think this is going to be a really important thing for Mike Macdonald. Like the Harbaugh question is how we kicked it off. This is not something I would call Harbaugh about if I was Mike, because he doesn't know the roster. But this is something like maybe Mike goes to like a Mo Kelly or EK, who's a longtime equipment guy, and like, yo, who is that for me? You know, I mean, you kind of don't want to just appoint someone per se. You just kind of want to get a feel for who may be that, and you can kind of nudge them in that direction or lean on them if push comes to shove, because that's important. Because everybody's not going to like the coach. Everybody's not going to like the position coach. People are going to be mad about how much time they're on the field or not on the field, how many targets they're getting or not getting, how they're being used or not being used. And it's just a lot of messaging that's important that guys got to be bought in, and it'll waver a little bit. And this one you need veterans in each position group on each side of the ball to handle that. I would guess that if Mike Macdonald did go to Mo Kelly, a VP of like, basically VP, he's like just the VP. He's like your guy, you know, your eyes and ears, your liaison from the players to the front office. That's Mo Kelly. My guess would be Mo would tell him Geno and Locke on offense, particularly G, because G's a little bit more vocal. Tyler's more like I'm gonna just lead by example type of guy. On defense, that's an interesting one because there's so many young dudes, so many guys who like you're a good player, but you're still kind of young. Even like Chenna's what, like 26 or something like that, 27 maybe.
He's young.
Yeah. So my guess would be Mo Kelly tells him Jay Reed. That would be my guess, because Jay Reed, he's been here a long time. I think he's the longest tenured Seahawk. No, that's Tyler. Tyler's the longest tenured guy. But yeah, I think we'll go with Jay Reed. I think he knows how to hold people accountable. He's an accountable person himself. He's a good player. No one listens to a bench rider, so he's a starter. Yeah, he's played in a bunch of different systems, so maybe that helps him pick up this one. I'm not sure about that part, but yeah, that would be my guy. If my guess would be if Mike went up to Mo Kelly and asked, the answer he's going to get is Jay Reed.
This is from Adam the Redhead. What can we expect out of the new offense schematically? Air it out, establish the run to set up the pass, or run it all day and win on defense? What you got, Mike?
This is a question I've thought of quite a bit, actually, before we even got it today. And I've come to the conclusion, doesn't matter. It really don't. I don't care what Ryan Grubb says. I know they'll have some foundational stuff that they install currently, because duh. But the offensive line will tell you what you can be and what you cannot be. You can have all these plans. Like Ryan Grubb can come in wanting to do all of those things. He can come in saying, we're going to air this thing out. And then once they put them two safeties back there, we're going to run it. Or the inverse. They can say we're going to be a heavy play action under center, ground and pound team. And then when they bring that extra safety in the box, boom, rockets to DK, and then we're going to score 50 points, right? Like, those can be your plans. You can kind of marry those two ideas, which is probably what Ryan Grubb would say. But at the end of the day, your O-line will tell you what you're going to be on offense. At least if you're a smart OC, honestly. Your O-line and your quarterback, will tell you. I don't think Geno has, like, drop back passing limitations, so I don't think he's, like, the issue in that regard. But generally, your quarterback tells you can have a plan all you want. If he can't run the stuff, or it's not the stuff that he's the best at, then you're screwed. So my guess would be, this is a cop-out answer, but it's the truth for real. The offensive line will determine what Ryan Grubb makes this team to be offensively. That's it. It'll start and end there. If these guys prove, we thought we were going to be better throwing the rock and pass blocking, but we're getting cooked. So time to adjust. Or if it's the inverse, like, these guys can block a little better than we thought. Okay, Geno, cool. Yeah, hey. Let's let it fly a little bit. What you saw Pete kind of do in what was that, week 3 of the 2022 season? He watched that tape against those guys against Nick Bosa and was like, Charles and Abe are all right.
Yep.
Let's let it fly, So and again, that was O-line based, So I think that's going to be it. Grubb can have the plans all he wants, but I think really once they get the pads on, I feel like things could change dramatically, particularly if guys aren't healthy. That could change, You're like, I don't know who my 5 guys are going to be up front. So we're just going to play it safe, Or I know who these guys are. They're really good. Let's go be aggressive, I think the O-line, that's going to dictate it more than whatever Grubb wants to do philosophically, if that makes sense. He can have a plan, because all good OCs do. But good OCs are also adaptable on the fly, If you don't got the pass blockers to be airing it out, then you're either going to get fired or you're going to become a run first team. You really got 2 options there in this league. You're going to get canned, or you're going to start running that rock. Or if you realize, hey, we're getting knocked off the ball a little bit in the run game, we're going to have to supplement the run game with a quick passing game. Be one of those teams. We've seen teams be that. So, I think the O-line is your answer. Whatever the O-line says that they're capable of being. And then if they're just elite, then they're going to have the best offense in the league. No joke. If this is an elite O-line, I have no idea if it will be. But if it is an elite O-line, best offense in the league. Pretty sure about that.
My bad. This next one is from Chris Leeper at Rosebug_22. What would you classify as a successful season?
So this answer will certainly vary depending on who you ask. Obviously, we are being asked. I think we should both answer this one. I think you got to get to the conference title game. I think you do. Otherwise, why fire Pete? In my mind, if the issue was the coaching, and you bring in new coaches, and you only get to the same spot you was getting with the old coach and his staff, that doesn't seem like success to me. That just seems like movement for the sake of movement. And I just don't think – I think that's the worst thing you can do in the NFL is to be lateral like that. you need to improve, or if you're missing the blue chip players, if you're going to bottom out, I don't encourage it, but if you're going to bottom out to get the good players, then bottom out. But if you just hover around anywhere from 7-10 to 10-7 for whatever, what's the point of that? You could have kept Pete to do that. So I think you got to justify the overhaul with getting further than Pete's teams have gone. They haven't gotten to the conference championship since 2014 at Packers game. So yeah, I think getting back there is success. I got a high standard for these guys because I don't think the roster's that bad, or at least I don't think it was bad enough to warrant like wholesale changes. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like, oh man, this roster sucks, let's just tear everything down. No, it was just like, hey, this roster is actually better than the coaching staff is making it look. So let's bring in a new staff. Okay, cool. If that's the premise, then get further than the other guy did and his staff did. Let's see you do it if you think you can. Not to say you can or cannot. I don't care what they do really, as long as they're interesting. That's what feeds me and my kid. But if you ask me what success is, I think you got to get there. And I think the NFC is structured in a way you couldn't do it too. Like there's no I think there's the Niners and then everyone else is pretty beatable. Not to say they would go to Philly and beat them, or they would go to Dallas, or they would go to Green Bay or whatever, but I think they could. You know what I mean? Whereas I think if you go to San Fran, at least right now, they get smoked. But maybe not smoked, but definitely losing. So yeah, I think
they will lose to the Rams too.
I think they could beat the Rams. I think
they lost Aaron Donald. There you go. That's true.
I'm about to say, like, I know Sean McVay is a really good coach, and he's one of the few coaches who was able to move the rock against Mike McDonald last year. But like, I am of the impression that Aaron Donald is the best football player I've ever laid eyes on. So like, losing him matters to me. That moves me. I got to see what you look like without him. I got to see it. Because I saw it a little bit in 2022 when they didn't have him. And what the Seahawks do? He beat them guys. Yeah. Now, Aaron wasn't the only player they were missing. It was Kupp as well as some other guys. But like, I've seen Sean McVay put up points without Kupp. You know what I'm saying? Against the Seahawks. I've seen him even move the ball effectively to some extent against the Seahawks without his starting quarterback. Like, without AD, though? Nah, man, that's tough. So I got to see that. But anyway, the larger point is, I think you got to get to the conference championship, or it feels like you just found a new way to tread water,
So to back up the premise of Mike saying why fire Pete, I don't know why they fired Pete either. I thought, I should say I know why they did.
I guess I could say we know why they did.
Yes. Yeah, we know why they did it, but in the grand scheme of things, if you're just going to end up being 10-7 again, which I think they will be, and that would be, in my opinion, I guess a success for a new head coach. I know Mike is, banging the table a little harder, like, yo, then why even get rid of Pete? They did the same thing, added a few new players. Okay, now what? I would also look at the long run. I know it's not Super Bowl or bust for this team. I don't think they're a contender on paper with what they have with this roster and coaching staff. So I would take it easy on them in that regard and say, if they win 10 games, I would consider it a successful season. But they got to build on that for next year. Next season, it's got to be, 12 wins, and you have to be a division leader. You got to win the NFC West. That should be the next step. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. So it's kind of a, as you would say, hedging your bet in this scenario. I'm basically alluding to the fact that, hey, new coach, new regime, I expect 10 wins. This roster is good enough to definitely do that. They're in a tough division with two teams that are fighting for the number one spot. Now you put the Seahawks in it, that's three teams. I don't think the Cardinals will be in it, although they're not going to lay down. They played the Seahawks very tough that last game last season, to end the season. That was a kick away from
if their kicker makes it, they're what are the Seahawks, 8-9? Although I guess if you flip that, my man missed a kick in LA, which would have flipped the record the other way too. So like they were a 9-8. They were a 9-8 team. So you got 10 wins is successful then.
10 wins is successful in a playoff spot. 10 wins in the playoffs.
Do they have to win a playoff game?
No, I wouldn't put that on Mike McDonald's first year.
So 10-7,
make the playoffs
and getting bounced in the wild card round. Success.
Yep. Just because
that's a low ball, man.
It is, but new head coach, he's never done this before. The training wheels are off. The best thing he has is what's his face? They brought in 75-year-old, been around the league a minute. What's his name?
You're talking about Leslie Frazier?
They brought in Leslie Frazier to help him out for this type of stuff.
Wow, you just made Leslie Frazier real old. I don't think he's that old.
Okay, he's like 50. My bad. Maybe he's 60.
Let me see.
Excuse
Leslie
me.
Frazier, another man with no facial hair. 65. Oh yeah, I guess he's not like
He ain't
super
young.
young. Yeah, no, I hear you. That's just a low. See, if they did that, I think that'd be wildly disappointing. Like, let's say they go 10-7, they go to Green Bay as like the 7th seed or the 6th seed, lose. I'm like, well, I guess like the other thing. So here's also why I view it that way too. I feel like they're not like they have a decent young core, but they also have a lot of dudes who aren't under contract after this season. Like I think all the linebackers and like all of their safeties, which is important, with the exception I think of like Rayson Jenkins. I think is like has a year left after that. We've already kind of thinking that okay, maybe Tyler's not around after this season. So I feel like you're not necessarily the foundation is not totally in place. You know, their cap space situation I don't think is super great for next year too. So I don't even necessarily think that they're naturally in place for this to be a building year. I don't think it's set up that way as compared to. I'll give you another good example, like the Lions. I feel like they were kind of set up to gradually get better. They had all this draft capital from the Stafford trade. It was like 2021, you're probably going to stink. I think that was Dan Campbell's first year. 2022, they had multiple first round picks. I want to say, I think one of them was like Jameson Williams, but like they were able to, you could see them like building something. They had multiple first round picks in 2023. They were like a sexy pick to win a division. They won it. Like their growth seemed, you could anticipate it being a little bit more linear. Whereas the Seahawks, from financially to who they have under contract, they could be in a similar spot this time next year too, where it's like, this is another 10-win team. Then you're talking about multiple years of this being anywhere from 7-10 to 10-7, and you're just like, well, what we get the new guys for, you know?
No,
So,
and that's why I said it's a building block. I think they can build. It's dependent on what they do this season. If they blow the expectations out the water and they are in the NFC Championship, well done, even better. I don't foresee that happening based on just the roster currently. I haven't seen them play, like a lot of us haven't. So in this regard, it'll be week 1. We'll learn a lot about this team. I will say that. Week 1, we will learn a lot about what this team is all about, who they are, identities, everything. But for right now, I would say if they can get 10 dubs, make it to the playoffs, if they get bounced by the Green Bay Packers, who I think on paper right now are a better team. I think Love is a better quarterback right now than Geno. Is it that close?
That's a hot take, I think.
I think it's close. I wouldn't say it's a big gap, but I think you put Geno over there with Green Bay. They do the same thing they did last season. Maybe they beat the Cowboys, right? Who knows? But nonetheless, I will say that 10-7, successful season, making the playoffs.
Green Bay did beat Dallas.
Oh, so who they lose to? Then they lost to the Niners. Excuse me. So maybe they don't get barbecued by the Niners.
Jordan Love threw a really bad interception there in the fourth quarter.
That was disgusting.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
that was bad. Yeah, I can tell you this: if that scenario happens, your scenario, it will not feel like a success. Not in the media, not fan base, not in the building either. It'll feel like a failure to not even win a playoff game. Yeah, I think that'll feel very failure-y for sure.
We'll see. But hopefully I'm wrong.
No, yeah, no. I do think, to what it's worth, if we separate what they should do versus what they will do, I don't even think they'll make the playoffs. At least not right now. I don't think that. But let's say they do. If they do, and then they just get bounced first round. Oh yeah, I think the post-game locker room will be a mess. I think that internally in the front office they'll be furious. You're going to get John Stanley underachieved again. Coaches will be fired for sure. Maybe not Mike, to be clear, but yeah, I could see getting rid of some of his guys. Because I think in that scenario they will have underachieved. I think in that scenario the offense is not as good as it should be. If they don't even win a playoff game. Like, we look at what they have. I think it's not as good as what it should be if they don't even make it in there. They don't even win a playoff game. So I do agree that that's what could happen, to be very clear. I don't even disagree with that. But I think if that does, it won't be like, we took some steps. Kind of like, again, use the Lions, or even the Packers last year. The Lions, this was the 2022 Lions. They won that game in Green Bay. I think that made them the same record as the Seahawks, I want to say, but they didn't make the playoffs because of tiebreakers, right? But that felt like a stepping stone season. You knew the Lions were going to take a next step, and you can kind of feel that within the fan base, the organization. They were like, okay, we made progress. I don't think it'll feel that way in Seattle. I think John will be pissed. I think Jody will be pissed. think Burt Cole I think everybody be pissed if it goes that way. Not to say that it won't. I think you're right. It could very well be a 10 win team. Go to Green Bay, lose. Go to LA, lose. Whatever. Go to Detroit, lose. Whatever in wild card round. But yeah, I think some heads are going to roll. Actually, if that happens for sure, I'm very confident about that. Actually,
should have just kept Pete. Last one for you, Axel MTG. Who wins the division the next 3 years? Because the Niners are most likely to win the division this year based on talent. But the window seems to be closing. So who wins the division the next 3 years, Mike?
I think we're going Niners. Niners, Rams. Actually, I want Niners, Rams. I think so.
So heads are still rolling.
Yeah.
That means they probably get 10 wins for the next 3 years. 9 or 10, maybe 11 could put you, in second. But damn,
it's just so hard. Here's why I say that. This is our last question, so I ended on this. Here's why I say that. It's not just that these teams are like the head coaches are just so like good.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, they've been there, they've done it.
I don't even necessarily think their GMs over there are that great. Like I think John Lynch is okay. Go look at their free agent decisions. Go look at their draft picks in the last 5 drafts. You're not blown away by what the Niners have done. It's Shanahan. It's his coaching staff. His DC hires. I know he just had to fire the last one, but like their defense was fine last year until like postseason. So I think that's part of it. You go look at. I think Shanahan, McVay have been to like 4 Super Bowls in the last 6 years or something like that with 4 different quarterbacks. So when I'm looking, that's why I can kind of predict future success for them. Because so maybe Stafford retires, McVay will probably just get there with somebody else. He's already got there with Goff and Stafford, And then you look at Shanahan, he got there with Jimmy G, he got there with Brock Purdy. He might get there with somebody else, or Brock's kind of young, so you can just keep getting there with Brock. So that's why I'm so confident in them. And it's not just the quarterbacks, but like think of how important quarterback and head coach relationship is around here. And think of how those guys have been able to get to multiple Super Bowls. I know they didn't win. At least the Rams did once, but like they've been to multiple guys. Those guys can get it done, man. We don't know if Mike McDonald's that type of dude yet. So that's why I predict those guys will continue to be at the top of the division.
Well, there you have it. Special with Mike and myself, joined by Matt Berry, which was great. That was a great conversation. We hope you guys enjoyed that. And then we top it off with Twitter questions. We didn't get to answer all of them because, Mike ain't been to OTAs. He's been on daddy duty and he's been chilling. He's got a lot of work going on outside of what he's got going on with the Athletics. So he's a busy guy. What more can we say? So, Mike, we just eclipsed 3,500 a few weeks ago. So we thank you guys for sticking with us. It's been a month since you heard from us. So I'm glad we went a little long today. This worked out. So I appreciate all the love and support. We're ramping up for another year. Training camp coming soon. Mike will be back for that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'll be back. I'm on a combination of paternity leave and then I'm getting married in a couple weeks, and then I got PTO till like mid-July. So you guys won't see me much outside of the pod for a little bit. Some much deserved time off, but we had to hop on, give you guys a big long episode with multiple stuff, hold you guys over for the offseason, because I did read a little bit of the offseason coverage that I've seen. Seahawks are kind of boring right now, so give you a little something to hold you over.
Well, with that being said, we'll catch you guys later. Have a good week, good weekend, and the sun's coming out, so enjoy it. Get outside. Not right now, Mike. I was, foreshadowing for the next couple weeks.
Oh, my bad.
My man looked out the window.
I'd say it look gray outside my joint right now.
But you guys have a great one. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Seahawks Man to Man. We'll check in with you guys later. Mike, is anything you want to add?
Appreciate the love and support, y'all. Catch you next time.